I think two things are happening at the same time at the moment. On the one hand, the lockdown fanatics can't quite let go of restrictions. They love the power that the restrictions gave them. So this is why all those journalists are saying to Boris, can we really scrap Plan B? Should we carry on with more restrictions for the future? And that's also why some of the modelers and the scientists, they want to keep restrictions for as long as possible, because it gives them a sense of authority. It gives them a sense of celebrity, and it gives them a sense of power over the little people. So Sadiq Khan, for example, the tin pot tyrant of London, is going to keep the mask mandate on public transport because he loves the power he has over the little people of London. But at the same time as that's going on, I think we're also going to see a bit of a reverse ferret, and people will start to deny that they supported the severe lockdown, especially the first one in 2020, which we now know had devastating consequences on life, on health, and on the economy. So there's going to be a contradictory process for the next few months, I think. On the one hand, they'll say, let's carry on with restrictions. On the other hand, they'll start to distance themselves from the tyranny they supported early on.
And we are seeing it, Brendan, aren't we? We're seeing it every day. But the difference with 2020 and 2021 and 2022 is that these people cannot erase their words. So yesterday, for example, I called out Sky News and Independent Sage, who at the start of December were warning that Omicron was going to be the worst variant yet. We cannot let these people forget, Brendan, their actions, because otherwise they could do this to us again.
That's absolutely the right point. And that's what the public has got to bear in mind. They've got to bear in mind the fact that the lockdown didn't come out of thin air. Someone made it up. So modelers pushed it, politicians went with it, and journalists cheered it on every step of the way. And we have to remember that. I think what's going to happen is people are going to start feeling embarrassed about the fact that they supported lockdown in the first severe lockdown. And I think in a few years' time, you'll be hard-pressed to find anyone who will admit to have supporting lockdown. I think it will become an embarrassing thing to have done. You know, we left people to die on their own. We left dementia sufferers with no visitors from loved ones to think that they'd been abandoned. We closed down schools. We shut down the economy. We put democracy itself on ice, and we banned the right to protest. All of these severe restrictions. And I think one of the worst things we did is we really clamped down on debate about alternative policies to lockdown. Anyone, and you will remember this yourself, Dan, anyone who raised alternative ideas or alternative policies was shot down, demonized, witch hunted, like the Great Barrington Declaration authors, for example. So not only did they enforce a severe clampdown on civil liberty, they also restricted the ability of people to dissent and discuss lockdown. And that's a real problem.
I was called a lockdown denier. All I wanted was genuine debate about what we were doing. Even before the first lockdown, Brendan, in March 2020, I said on my radio show, I was at Talk Radio at the time, I said, no measures should be put into law. Everything should be guidance in this country. And you know what, Brendan, naively back then, and I think I was very naive when I look back, I just assumed that would be the case because we had a libertarian prime minister. But very quickly, folk like you, folk like me, we were called granny killers, we were called COVID deniers, we were called lockdown deniers. But I'm sorry, we have been proven to be right.
Yeah. And, you know, one of the most frustrating things is that people like us and a few others too, we were told that we just wanted to let the disease rip, even though there were no vaccines at the time. There was no treatment, really. We didn't understand the virus. Evil people like us wanted it to run rampant through the population. But in fact, what we were arguing for was guidance, was a trust in ordinary people, and was for voluntaristic acts of self-restriction in certain situations. And that's another thing that's been proven by the Omicron variant. People are capable of doing that. Around Christmas time and before Christmas, people in this country voluntarily changed their behavior. They started going out a little bit less. They didn't visit elderly relatives if they were infected, because people can be trusted to make the right decision.
And of course,
the lack of trust was a real problem.